Okay, this is the Dove Lady again looking at orbs. And these pictures that are going by just now, they are of a photon of light as it has just come from the light source. And you can see that it sort of tosses around between two different orbs. The one in the middle goes and becomes one or the other according to the way you're looking at it, or the camera is looking at it. And this is light, and what is exposed in this light is, I think, what is in empty space, what is in the air. And if you would think it might be in the glass, because I'm using the shine off of a glass, then I would suggest that the glass and ourselves are mostly empty space. So if this is looking at the tiniest little things, then it wouldn't matter where it is, because the tiniest of things is in empty space. Anyway, I just wanted to show some of these, and I will be showing you a video too of them moving about toward the end of this. But first, as they go by, I want to read to you something I found out. Now, I looked at a website because I had heard about something called the Adamantine Particles and the power of love. And I strongly believe in the power of love. And I want to read what this one website called Spiritual Harmonics.blogspot.com. And they have an article in here by Mary Mageau. I don't know how you pronounce her last name. But I want to read part of that article. She talks about the adamantine particles. She says, taken from the Greek word adamus, meaning invincible. Adamantine can also function as an adjective to describe something hard and brilliant, like a diamond. If one would say, I am adamant about this, it would mean that the one speaking is either firmly accepting or opposing your request. When the term particle appears with adamantine, it derives from quantum theory. Thus, adamantine particles describe all fundamental subatomic particles. These particles form all of the elements in the universe by assembling the atoms of all the original substances, such as oxygen, hydrogen, iron, etc. They are the basis of everything that exists, including our bodies, and are the smallest particles that cannot be divided any further. Quantum physics have already discovered these particles, but have selected other names by which to identify them: electrons, quarks, muons, neutrinos, etc. These pure particles are so small and simple that they represent an absolute, and so are one of the constants of the universe. Adamantine particles are crystalline particles of infinity that all contain the stored potential to manifest any original substance or element. These particles are encoded with a type of universal DNA, somewhat like stem cells, which allow the particles to form any possible type of atom. Now, the power of love. Adamantine particles require power to build other particles and atoms. However, only one other type of energy is compatible with them. This energy is the magnetic power of love, which pervades the universe in the form of the universal life force, or chi, prana, etc. Love is not only a most beautiful feeling, but is the power which ignites and directs adamantine particles into manifestation. Jeshua ben Joseph, Jesus Christ, Sananda, or by whatever name you choose to call him, has given us this explanation of adamantine particles through Glenda Green's book, Love Without End. Adamantine particles represent a continuous flow of high-frequency potential, which manifest into discrete forms and arrangements under the command of love. The knowledge of adamantine particles is not limited to particle physics, galactic travel, or ethereal realms. When love is present, there is a free exchange of adamantine particles, which accounts for the dynamic interaction of all living entities. These subatomic particles are the building blocks of all complex forms in the universe, and because they are under the command of love, they are especially fluid in organic life. Every manifestation is a revelation of adamantine particles emerging from the infinite ocean of spirit under the directing intent of love. This phenomenon pervades and sustains all existence without end. The sharing of adamantine particles is the breath of life. There is an ongoing exchange of these particles throughout existence. They not only comprise organic life, but also the planet, the wind, and every substance that is. Everything breathes for the whole of its duration, inhaling and exhaling. These particles bring vital balance and connections to life. Adamantine particles belong to both the infinite world and the limited realm of physical existence. They were the first light of creation. They are forever the light of consciousness. They provide the fuel and dynamic energy to propel thoughts into manifestation. They give flesh to spirit, as well as new life, nourishment, and healing to life, because they are commanded by love and conform to the nature and will of spirit. Adamantine particles belong to all dimensions. Remember that adamantine particles respond to magnetic attraction, and with regard to human potential, it is by your love that you command them. Understanding adamantine particles and the conscious utilization of them belongs to the realms of higher consciousness. The greater law of ownership always prevails, and that law states that ownership belongs to love, to responsible custody, and the utilization of power for the good of all. You must first learn about the Sacred Heart and learn how to center your life around it completely. Only the true Sacred Heart can sense the vital flow and charge of the particle energy. When the Sacred Heart comes to life again and its fire glows within you, you will begin to magnetize a fresh supply of adamantine particles from an infinitely abundant universe. There is no limit to the adamantine particles that can be drawn to you. These can be used for empowering your life, for healing it, and lifting it to a higher state of performance. The Sacred Heart is a holy chamber. This is the place where true prayer takes place. It is a place of peace and solitude, a place so powerfully connected to your source that all you have to do is enter it for prayer to occur. You don't even have to say anything, as being with God is the prayer, and entering the Sacred Heart or Holy Chamber is a sacred act. Now, that is what she wrote about these particles, which may or may not be what I'm looking at here, but I'm certainly looking at something. I mean, this is not something that I've gotten too much attention from these scientists about. I mean, none of them. And I've sent some of my videos to some of them and no replies. So I was just looking all over the internet for even more information on the adamantine particles. Now I'm just going to let a few go by while I look for something else I want to read you. Okay. I'll read you this about the quantum theory. Principles of physics are involved in a study of the quantum theory. It is the theory of distribution of energy throughout nature. It was developed in the Berlin University as an outcome of investigation into radiation from black objects. This research resulted in the conclusion that all forms radiate a definite energy, and that there is nothing in the world of form that is an inert mass. Every form has within itself some degree of energy, and this energy is a distinct emanation of the energy that fills infinite space. The amount of energy that each particular form radiates is in direct proportion to the relationship which it has with the universal energy. Just as a pendulum swings in a long or short arc, according to the amount of force exerted to start its swinging, just so all forms retain the amount of active energy required in sending it forth. This energy is retained by the form just to the degree that it retains its relation to the energy which sent it forth. If the pendulum stops, it is because the impelling force has ceased to exert influence upon it. Matter becomes less and less active as it loses some of its contact with the original impelling force, which started it into motion. When this energy ceases to act within the form disintegrates. Metaphysically, this has much of vital importance to those of the Western world. The movement in the United States came under the Depression, and all that means is that there was no foundation in fact. That is, it was founded on only a half-truth. There is fact as a basis for our metaphysics, but that fact was overlooked and misunderstood by most of its exponents in the United States. This will be discussed in our consideration of the quantum theory. The Eastern world, those of higher thought, have known the facts propounded in the quantum theory. They deal, in brief, with but one fact, that of the universality of all things, and, consequently, in dealing with that one fact, they have a definite basis for both science and metaphysics. The psychology of the Western world is mere child's play. It is based to a great extent upon theory. Whenever you deal with divisions of mental, material, and physical, you are bound to base at least 75% of your calculations on theory. Division is not unity, and unity is not division. And the basis of all creation is that it is a unit. I am that I am, and beside me there is no other, is the eternal declaration of fact, which is the unity of all things. The direct violation of this fundamental unity is in considering the mind as having phases or faculties, when in reality mind is a single unit, not only as within the individual, but as existing in and of the universe. Material form is not something isolated from and independent of the universe, but is one in and with the universal substance. The physical body is not an isolated phase of the creative scheme, but is in and one with the universal energy. To violate this fundamental unity is to isolate yourself in a hypnotic state where you seem to be a separate being, and therefore you cut yourself off, devitalize yourself, and ultimately destroy your ability to further manifest in this plane. To deny the relationship of the visible with the invisible is to push yourself right out of your body and into the invisible. The Eastern philosophy is not based upon theory at all. It is based upon a definite scientific fact or principle. That is the same idea that Einstein is bringing out in the quantum theory. He has brought it out in greater evidence than has any other scientist in the Western world. Many are saying that it is the gap between science or physics and true religious thought. Now, this is from a book that was written a long time ago, and it's The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. I think it's what this is from. And many scientists now are beyond what Einstein was able to deduce. The Easterner does not approach the matter of religious thought as theory at all. In fact, he proves that it is not theory. Thereby he accomplishes that very fact and the possibilities involved in that fact. You do not see the Eastern philosophers pass out a theory of anything. Their basis is always in fact. It, of course, is not fact simply because they pronounce it so, but because it has a scientific basis in fact. That fact was clearly revealed by Christ when he said, "I and my Father are one," preserving the unity of himself with the whole. That is the basis from which all successful living must evolve, and it is only to the degree that this oneness is maintained by the individual that he begins to radiate the energy that sent him into being. This is the basis of the quantum theory, as applied from the viewpoint of pure religion or pure metaphysics. And that is why the Eastern philosophers gave so much attention to the quantum theory. They see the scientists of the world returning to the basis of their own religious thought, held for thousands of years. So, let's have another page on that. Well, I could read this that says, "Is there a God?" We have that question asked more often than any other question today. Science has given a great deal of attention and brought it in recent years to this subject and is really doing a magnificent work in research along this line. The research was suggested by a group of medical scientists, and it has been in progress for several years now. Of course, there is a very great determination that there is a great principle back of all experiences. This goes back so far that all continuity of it has been lost throughout the ages. We are coming to realize that it has always existed and does exist today, and nothing can move that principle out of absolute law and order. The greatest question humanity has asked and is still asking is there a God? From an orthodox point of view, it is accepted on faith that there is a God, a divinity called the Father of man. In this way, we are speaking of a great division of humanity, yet in no way satisfied with believing on faith alone. They ask to know, have you irrefutable proof of the existence of divinity? It has been the task of science to investigate the matter and find the answer to the question, an answer which will satisfy the rational mind. Through scientific investigations in recent years, it has been discovered that there is a universal force, which is also termed universal energy, a primal energy, pervading the entire universe and filling infinite space. Today we are finding that the energy that principle manifests is greater than the atomic bomb. That energy emanates throughout all space, all conditions, and all things. It is not given just to one person or to one group. It is all in all, and it belongs to everyone. It works with everybody, whether we realize it or not. The non-realization of it makes no difference whatsoever. It is not concealed under books or in dark places. It is ever-present, omnipresent, pervading all things. It is the very substance and principle from which we live and move and have our being. Were it not for that very principle, that divinity in every person, we would not be able to take a picture of this group. Experience has proved this. The divine principle has residence within and permeates everything, every method of life and experience. It is that divine influence, that divine energy, which is permanent, everlasting, all-encompassing. We have proved that through photography, for were it not for that divine energy, no photograph could be taken. The pictures recorded on a film are simply the emanating vibrations coming from the object or person of whom the picture is taken. This is proof of the divinity within each form. If we seek that divinity from without, we fail to find it, for we are looking outside ourselves for that which is as near to us as our hands and feet. as close to us as our heart, right within us. If we will go within, we will find divinity in all phases. Then why waste our time searching without for God? It is the same with the masters or elder brothers. They are right here within every form. They are as near to us as our heart. You do not have to travel to India or to any other country to see these masters. You can see them right where you are. When the student is ready, the master will appear. It is well known today that through a greater civilization many, many ages past, a great reservoir, as it is called, was built up of the principles and God qualities and attributes that have been generated and manifested through countless eons of time. And that reservoir of good cannot be invaded by any condition of negative whatsoever. The mighty reservoir or momentum of God-good energy and pristine purity stands there for all time, and the instant we think of that great, vibrating, pulsating principle, we become aware of it right within ourselves. That vast reservoir of good stands ready and waiting for our use at all times, but we have but to tune into it to become at one with it. Now that energy has been called by the name God, the word that is receptive to the greatest vibratory influence known today. Anyway, that's all I'm going to read of that. Now, I'm going to take you to the videos I promised. Here's one. I took this the other night. And I wasn't moving the camera around very much at all. All this activity, and I'm sorry, the video player does sometimes stop. And I have to kind of wait for it to begin again. But see, all this activity, this is going on all around us. It stopped again. Go. Anyway, there's much activity and pulsation and vibration and color and design, and every little glimpse I see of this shows me that at any angle and at any precise way that the glass that I am getting the shine off of in order to get this picture, if I turn it in the slightest little bit, it's a little bit different. So this is going on in so many, maybe millions of parts of the space that I'm filming into just inside my room. This sort of activity. And I find it amazing, I really do. Now, some people have said that's just what marbles do and or glass does. I know it couldn't be just that. I've studied this and looked at too many videos of it and taken too many pictures to believe that. Some people think it's lens flare. And I've had all kinds of ideas. There it got stuck again. I'm going to take this one down and start another one that I have, which is real similar. Okay, go. It seems like light. You just travel through it visually. Oh dear, not moving. There's something wrong with this player of videos that I have. But it stops and starts. But I think you can get the gist of what I'm talking about. There's always movement going on within the light. And it's almost like, well, this light has a mind of its own as to what it will do. Now I'll take you to a third one. Get it going. Hopefully it will go well. And you can see activity on many levels. It's like I'm looking into dimensions of this that are, it's like almost like you were looking through water and something was disturbing the surface of the water, and light and shadows and different things were bubbling all around in the picture of this. And it is really, it's amazing. I really can't tell you what it is unless it's these adamantine particles. It very well could be. Ever since I've read about the Immortal Cell in the books that are called the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, I read about the Immortal Cell and how it programs all other cells, and how it is a perfect cell. But it's transparent, like a droplet of something that is almost invisible. Well, you see, this has a lot of color and a lot of patterns in it, but there is over it little drop-like things that I can see. You can partially see it here. They're almost invisible, so it's really hard to see them at all. But it's like they're programming all these colors and all this stuff that's in the light. It's almost like it's a process of photosynthesis that goes on in plants.
Hey, Reed,
and these orbs,
can you get that trash can for me?
they breathe,
Can you get a
they
chance? Will you get that
pulse.
trash can for me, please? Thank you.
And sometimes you run across the strangest looking things in them. But then the whole thing really is strange. Now, some people who have seen some of my videos, but not enough of them, if they'd seen enough of them, they'd know this wasn't true. But they think I'm some kind of a person who knows how to Photoshop or do all kinds of just miraculous things with photos, which I would not know the first thing about how to do something like that, nor would I want to do that. It wouldn't sit right with me to set out to fool anyone. Now, I may be fooling myself about what this is. There may be a perfectly logical explanation of this, but so far, I haven't heard it. See that little bubble-like thing moving around? It was right there. It may come back. Yeah, there it is. It just pops in and out. That to me might be like the little invisible first cell thing that I read about, that is called the Immortal Cell. And then waves of colorful patches of really brilliant yellow and blue and green passes over. And they look like what people call standing waves, because they seem to just stand up. And there's so many circles. Look at that circle right there. There's so many circles and circles and circles. Tiny ones, medium ones, big ones, and all inside of an orb, which is another circle. It's circles within circles within circles. And sometimes, if you've seen some of my other videos, I show the light as it first comes out of the light source. And one time I had a ring, a definitely formed ring. It was round. Well, it was not perfectly round, but it was lumpy. And it was distinguishable. And it came out of the light just on one day. I haven't seen it since come out of the light, but I have seen it inside of some of the big orb pictures that I take pictures of. It's like it embedded itself within. Something's happening with the light, there's no doubt about that. Now, I will continue playing, just going through some of these videos, some of these still pictures, because they are so interesting. But I'm going to click through them and not do the pan and zoom. Very often lately I've been finding this very long